This is Kim and Shannon.
Are you newly engaged and don't know where to start?
Have you been planning for a while and are ready to elope?
Don't stress, we've got your back.
We are From Ring to Veil,
Your wedding planning heroes. Planning a Honeymoon, episode number 199.
Pause and subscribe, take a screenshot, and share.
Join our Facebook group, the From Ring to Veil Wedding Planning Community. Just search for it on Facebook and you can join us, answer a couple of questions, and get all kinds of advice and some praises, and makes you feel good because, we're all there to help you.
We do have our Seattle metro area planning resource guide up for sale. If you are getting married in the Seattle area, this is perfect for you because we have vendors for all categories. Our top 3, sometimes 4 favorite ones in the area. So check that out from ringtoveil.com/RG paperback or from ringtoveil.com/RG Kindle, or just look up Seattle Metro wedding planning or just Seattle wedding planning in Amazon and you will find it right there in the listings.
Today, our guest host is Irina Vishnevskaya. Irina has a formal education in international business and was once at the helm of one of Hungary's first craft breweries and worked for a company that installed craft breweries all around the world.
Yum. She started Allé Travel, a travel planning company. Hey, we wedding plan, she travel plans. She is also a travel contributor to Huffington Post, Peaceful Dumpling, Spirited Table, Pink Pangea, as well as, of course, the allé travel blog. Thank you, Irina, for being here. We really appreciate you taking some time and talking to us about honeymoons.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to be here.
The title of the show is Planning a Honeymoon.
Mm-hmm.
And your thing is that you plan honeymoons for and with people, correct?
Yes. So we are basically kind of the easiest way to describe what my company, allé Travel, does is we're like, if you think of us as doing for honeymoons what a wedding planner does for weddings. It's not like we are a traditional travel agent and just show you packages and you click book and it's miraculously booked. We really work with couples to get to know them and then plan honeymoons around them, just like a wedding planner would do for your wedding, right? So each couple is different, budgets are different, visions are different. So we do all of those things only in the world of honeymoons, and we basically do all the heavy lifting so that our honeymooners can really relax. So yeah, the easiest way to describe it is thinking of it in terms of what a wedding planner does for weddings as well.
Which is really cool because, like you said, you can go online and find packages and click buy and there you go. Or you can go on and find cheap flight and there you go. But you take care of all the details. So It's so easy and stress-free.
Yeah, and a lot of the couples that we're working with are really looking for something that's a bit more outside of the box. So I think when I think of honeymoons, the word it traditionally came from was like couples were getting married, and then after their wedding, this was like their first big trip together. So they were going on their first big, maybe foreign adventure, but not necessarily. And they hadn't lived together yet. They hadn't traveled together yet. So I think in that context, an all-inclusive resort makes a lot of sense. It's their first time traveling together. The clients that we work with have traveled together. They most likely live together already. Mm-hmm. They probably have started a home together, have bought dining utensils together, all that stuff. And so they're like, well, we don't want to go on just another trip. Like how is our honeymoon going to one up all of our other travels that we've done together? So that's where we start to get into really fun conversations of, okay, tell us about your past trips. What did you like about those? What didn't you like? And kind of working around that. So I think it's just kind of the natural evolution of where we are today as opposed to, I don't know, maybe 30 years ago.
Right. Well, speaking of that, I don't even know if you were in this 30 years ago, but how did you get into this specific realm of travel agency or travel planning?
Yeah, so my background is very different from the wedding industry and travel in general. I worked in Hungary, which is a small country in Europe, working for a manufacturer of brewing equipment. So I would travel all over the world working with engineers to install big stainless steel tanks. Very,
Cool.
like I said, very, very different from what I do now.
Yes.
But as a part of that, I got to travel literally to every corner of the world. And then with work travel, obviously comes points for personal travel. So then I would take those points and translate them into personal travel. And basically something that I would hear over and over again from friends or, I don't know, somebody at the yoga studio when I would come back from these trips was, well, how did you know to do that? How did you know that you can go to this random place and do this random thing? And it all of a sudden a light bulb went off, like, well, it's logical to me and I love doing this kind of thing, but maybe it's not to everyone, or maybe they don't enjoy planning like I do. So right around this time also I was engaged, and it sort of dawned on me even more that if this is an issue that non-engaged people are having, it's an even bigger issue for people in the wedding planning season of their lives, when things are so busy and it feels like your wedding becomes another full-time job and you're juggling all these things, and then a honeymoon sort of becomes like the last afterthought. And I mean, I see it every day. We get frazzled calls of like, we're getting married next week, can we plan a honeymoon? So I know how that can feel. And this was an idea that I just started mulling on more and more. And my first thought was, well, I'll put up a website. We did that. And then my now husband very astutely was like, Irina, do you know how many websites there are in the world? And I was like, oh, wow, that's very true. So we just started with a simple listing on the Knot, and then clients started finding us, and we've grown entirely off of referrals. We now have it's myself and 3 other people, and we're hiring for 1 more. Each of our planners specializes on certain parts of the world. So it depends on where you're going. You're kind of paired up with the person who knows that destination best. Obviously, there's some parts of the world that quite a few of us plan, or all of us, like Italy is an example where it's so popular, and all of us have so much experience with Italy that that's more of a calendar thing. But most destinations, it's a destination fit that we pair you up with a planner, and then our process is the same, and you know, the quality and everything. We just split it up between a few of us. So that's where we are today. It's been about 4 years now.
That's awesome. And where do you specialize?
I've been toning down my specialties more and more. My everyday looks like getting rid of places so that I can focus more on the business side of things, because as you know, that's a lot of work. But countries that are still on my plate are Croatia, France, both of those. So France I lived in. Croatia is a really special place today, but my family has been traveling there since I was a child. So that's a place that I don't really see ever giving up. I also do some of our Bali planning. That's another really, really popular destination of ours for good reason. Let's see, and Costa Rica is also on my plate. Those are kind of my major ones. But some of Mexico I'll do too. Like we have clients going to Oaxaca this weekend, and I plan that. So, but yeah, as far as my major ones, it would be Croatia, France, obviously Hungary because I lived there. Right. Yeah.
Cool.
My focuses.
When you're doing this, do you ever feel like, man, I just want to go with you?
Yeah, it's kind of funny with some places. So, Iceland, like 2 years ago, was super popular. And I've been there, but I wouldn't say that I spent like terribly long there. But we had so many clients traveling to Iceland at one point that I literally, even the parts of the country where I haven't been, I can tell you with closed eyes, like, okay, you take a right to get to that waterfall and it's like a 2-hour hike. And so I just now have no interest in going to Iceland for a while.
That's hilarious.
So that's, but it's so interesting. Now Iceland is completely, I don't think we have anybody going to Iceland in the coming year and haven't had someone there for quite a few months. So it's interesting how these things happen. But yeah, for a while. So maybe now I'll be ready to go.
Okay, so let's get into this. Our first big question for you is, when do you suggest couples honeymoon? Is it right after the wedding, or do they delay it? Can you give us some pros and cons of each and which one you suggest?
Yeah, definitely. So as with everything, the right answer is it depends. But I would say it mostly depends on your circumstances. So in the case of going right after the wedding, the benefits of that are obviously, first and foremost, it is pretty lousy to go back to work after your wedding on a Saturday to go back to work on a Monday. That sucks. So it is really nice to ride the high of the wedding into a special adventure just for the two of you. Definitely a pro to that approach. What comes with that, though, is that you are tied to the specific dates of after your wedding, which, with that comes maybe your dream is to go to Thailand and you're getting married in July, and Thailand in July is rainy and monsoon season. So maybe it just doesn't, like your dream destination just doesn't line up with your dates, for example. That's one place where people can choose to delay. Another reason to delay, if that kind of, the Hollywood version of leaving for your honeymoon right away doesn't work, is weddings are really expensive, as we all know. And for a lot of couples, it makes sense to regroup, save up a little bit, and travel at a later point. So that's definitely a benefit to delaying. You can be more flexible if you delay. So you can probably leave on a Wednesday and come home on a Wednesday, of course, depending on your work setup. But that is a possibility. And you can travel when, your destination is perfect. So like a conversation that I just had with a client earlier today was they're getting married in August and their dream is to go to Greece. And just unfortunately, Greece is unbelievably expensive in August. All of Europe and the world flocks to Greece in August. So you have hotels that go from being, $250 a night to $600 a night.
Oh my goodness. So
that's a huge budget buster. And if you can say, okay, our dream is Greece, but we can travel in September, all of a sudden your budget goes further. So these are just things to think through, like some people's jobs are like, they literally say, I know that I can take an extended time off right now because it's right after my wedding and I can get away with it. So it kind of depends on the couple. I would say, without a doubt, no matter what you do, even if you travel right after your wedding, please don't book a flight for the day after your wedding. So give yourselves at least one day to breathe, one day to have your brunch the following day if you're doing that, or say goodbye to people who came in from out of town. There's going to be like a little bit of a lag of things to do post-wedding. So don't book a 6 a.m. flight for the day after your wedding. Give yourselves a day of breathing space, but also some people do like a week later. And I think that's a little bit lousy too, because then it's like they go back to work, but they're not really at work mentally. And then they're like going on a plane. So either commit to a serious delay or a day or two after your wedding. If you are doing the delay, anything more than a year later starts to just feel like another trip. So ideally within 6 to 12 months is I would say the perfect amount of time where it still feels like you're riding the high of the wedding. But you're just traveling a little bit later. So, and then obviously if you do travel with a delay, it's completely fine to take a day or two and just go out of town somewhere near the city where you got married. Just do a staycation, something to, to have the two of you. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be a big deal, but just some rest. I think that's something that a lot of people underestimate, is how tired you'll be after your wedding.
Absolutely.
And I think that's, I also didn't believe it before I got married. So I would say to future brides and grooms, take our word for it. You will feel it, I promise. So giving yourselves time to recoup and relax is really important, and wherever you choose to do that, just be sure to give yourselves that time, because it is, I think, it coupled with maybe literal lack of sleep, it's also adrenaline. It's such an adrenaline high, and you kind of come crashing down afterwards, and in a good way. But yeah, it is.
Exactly. I kind of like that idea of the delay of a year, because then you can couple it on your first anniversary, and have a really nice first anniversary / honeymoon trip.
Yeah, definitely. We have quite a few couples who do that. Or people that really come to us. We absolutely love when people come to us and say, we're kind of thinking these places, but this is our vision. And they tell us, they love hiking or they love waterfall, whatever they love. And then that they are open as far as dates based on where they choose to go. So then we really literally open the world map and just pair places. And then they're able to choose based on what speaks to them more. So yeah, I think the year is a great idea. 6 months, or wait until holidays when you can take advantage of using more time off. That's another good idea as well. That's why we do have honeymoon travelers over the holidays, over the winter holidays, not because necessarily people are getting married there, but because that's when they're pushing their honeymoons off until.
That totally makes sense too.
Yeah.
Have you joined Zola yet? Check them out if you haven't, because they are a wedding company that will do anything for love, and they're reinventing the wedding planning and registry experience.
Zola takes the stress out of the wedding planning with free wedding websites.
As you guys have probably heard, we have set up a wedding website and registry ourselves, and it was super easy, super fun, very customizable. It was a very easy experience, and we totally recommend you trying it.
Everything is online and in one place, and it saves you so much time.
That's right. My favorite part is that the registry integrates with the website, so your guests go to one place. Everything that they need to know is right there, including purchasing your gift.
You can also purchase top-of-the-line brands from Zola, as well as register for honeymoon funds and travel gift cards from Delta and Southwest.
To start your free wedding website or register on Zola, go to zola.com/FRTV.
That is Zola, ZOLA.com/FRTV.
Okay, so I want to jump into destinations that generally work well for honeymoons. I see a lot of people asking, hey, where are you going? We're trying to figure out where we should go. Should we go here? Should we go there? What are some general places that work really well?
Yeah, definitely. So more than anything, whenever you think of a place or somebody recommends a place to you, Google that destination plus the month when you want to go. We get a lot of that's a big conversation that we have with people. Well, we want to go to Greece in December, and we're like, well, it'll be shuttered and cold and rainy, so probably you don't want to do that. But whoever you got the advice from was just well-meaning and giving you ideas. So as far as springtime travels, all of Europe is wonderful in the spring. April, May is beautiful. It's not yet busy and touristy, but it's, if you're looking at mid-May, it's already warm enough to be laying on the beach. So if you do want to do like a beach stop, May is fine. We love Sicily. It's one of the Italian islands. That's a big one for us. The Amalfi Coast is really having a moment right now. I would say if the Amalfi Coast is interesting to you, Definitely don't go after July because it's just very expensive and very crowded, more than anything. Crowded. So something to keep in mind. Japan is also awesome in the springtime.
It's funny you say that. My husband's in Japan right now.
Oh my gosh.
Work trip, but
Yeah. Well, it's actually in the winter, it's cool because you can go to the hot springs and it does actually get a bit snowy there. So you can have kind of the combination of hot springs and snow. So it's not bad in the winter, but yeah, in the spring you get the cherry blossoms. So it's really beautiful. And that's a great trip. Morocco is also great in the spring. That's a big popular one as well. Moving into summer, we love Croatia. Obviously, I mentioned I have a personal connection to Croatia, but also it's been gaining in popularity. And with Croatia, it's pretty cool because, like, even say 3 years ago, I remember our first clients when they were going to Croatia, it was pretty, like, the destination itself is beautiful. The beaches in Croatia are really stunning because they're not sand beaches. So if sand and Caribbean style beach is the vision, then Croatia loses. But because they're like small pebbles, you get the bluest water because it's not getting kind of like muddled with sand, if that makes sense. But a few years ago, the hotel options in Croatia were pretty lousy. They hadn't quite caught up with the world yet. And now you have beautiful properties there that are really boutique and well run and everything. So it's been fun having clients go now and really proudly be able to show them the options in Croatia. Whereas it used to be kind of a battle, this is actually a good hotel. They just didn't hire a photographer. Trust me, it's beautiful. So it's much better now. And nearby, if somebody is really into adventure and likes hiking and things like that, Sylvania is absolutely stunning. Really one of Europe's most interesting dining destinations. So some really great restaurants and wineries there. In the summer, Bali is the best Asian destination, and Bali is, I mentioned earlier, we plan a lot of Bali. Bali works for many, many couples because it's so affordable. There is not a place in this world where your money goes as far as Bali. And I can say that incredibly comfortably.
Wow.
So you can, for as low as $200 a night, you can go lower if you want, but say $200 a night, you can have a private villa with a pool. And it's a big villa with a living room and kind of luxurious, and that anywhere else in the world of that caliber, you'd be looking at about $1,000 a night.
Oh,
so your money really goes far. It's also an island that is sort of the perfect size island. So in my work, we spend a lot of time talking about the size of islands because some islands are just really small. Like if you look at Fiji, the Fijian Islands, for example, they're so itty bitty. There's one resort on the island. And for some people that can kind of give them cabin fever where they feel stuck. And there's really there's one place to eat, and that's the only place you can eat, literally, because you'd have to swim to the neighboring island. Bali, what's great about Bali is that it's about 3-4 hours to cross. So it's a big enough island to have a variety of things. So you can find all sorts of resorts. If you want to go to a nightclub at night, you can. If you want to have the exact opposite of that and be in your remote villa with your private butler who's going to bring you your private dinner, you can have that too. And you won't even feel like you're on the same island as the nightclub. They're so vastly different. So it's really an island where everybody can find what suits them. And you can combine. So it's common for us to have honeymooners in Bali who start out with relaxing and then move on to, if they like nightlife, they could do that. If they like yoga and hiking and cultural experiences, they can go inland and have that experience. So it's really an island that everybody can dip into what they're looking for. And it's just fun because money goes far there. So even the smallest budgets, you can really stretch really nicely. So the summer is wonderful in Bali. It's not rainy season there as it is in the rest of Asia. Fall, Europe starts to be wonderful again. Tuscany is beautiful in the fall, as is Portugal. The wine regions in these countries are starting to go through harvest. So that's a really fun time to visit harvest festivals. And in a lot of places you can participate in harvest as well. So if you're wine connoisseurs, that's kind of a fun thing to do. Curacao is a great one. So the problem with fall, and when people want to travel to the Caribbean islands, is that it's hurricane season there. And so while you can go, and sometimes the hurricanes don't come, it's a very big risk. And we're never really comfortable sending someone to the Caribbean in hurricane season. But what's great
Makes
about
sense.
yes, and we have, what was it, last year when the hurricanes were really bad. We were just watching as people's honeymoons were canceled left and right. And we were so happy that we always take the season so seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But Curacao is a part of the ABC Islands. So they're called ABC. The A is Aruba, which most people have heard of. The B is Bonaire, which is a tiny, very rugged island. And the C is Curacao. We love Curacao. Well, first of all, so all three of the ABC Islands fall outside of the hurricane belt. So it's the craziest thing where the other islands will just be getting battered by a hurricane, and our clients are on a boat off the coast of Curacao sending us pictures of the stillest bright blue water. And you're just like, how is this possible? So it's geographically very well located. And what's cool about Curacao is it used to be a Dutch colony, or still kind of, as they sort of have a relationship with Holland. But so the downtown, if you will, area of Curacao it looks like Amsterdam, only it's in pastel Caribbean colors. It's just the cutest little town. They have beautiful beaches. You can swim with turtles there. There's really some great boutique hotels there that cater to luxury nicely. So it's a great island that has a lot to offer, and you can pair it with Aruba as well. So it's a short, like half-hour flight between the two. So some people like to mix and match the two. So that's a great kind of one of our hacks, if you will, for fall, is if you're traveling during hurricane season, that's kind of literally a ray of sunshine and a place where you can escape. And also Greece. We really frequently recommend Greece in the fall. The sea is going to be nice and warm still from having warmed up in the summer, but the tourists will be gone. An island as far south as Crete is going to be warm even in October and late October. So you can comfortably go there and still have summer weather. And you'll have very cozy prices, so you won't be battling with mobs of tourists. And then when it comes to winter, Thailand is huge, also incredibly affordable. Mexico, we love the Baja California side of Mexico, Tulum, Mexico, Oaxaca. So when you think of Mexico, I know a lot of people think of just all-inclusives and maybe bad experiences with those, but there's really, really a lot to discover in Mexico that's really exciting. And what's nice about Mexico is most U.S. cities have direct flights.
Right.
So you're not losing much time to travel. And, if you're looking at your calendar thinking, well, we can only take 7 days off, a place like a Thailand and a Bali, even if it's really affordable, just doesn't make sense if you only have 7 days, because by the time you get there, you have 2-3 days there and then you're turning around. And that's just not worth it. And in the winter, another good one is New Zealand and Australia because it's summer there.
Oh yeah.
So that works out well. And Colombia is actually another, that's kind of the new Iceland. Tons of direct flights from most U.S. cities that are really affordable, really a lot to do in Colombia. And as a destination, it's still really affordable, but it's also very safe. I know that used to not be the case. So we see a lot of people going to Colombia and seriously considering it. So that's kind of my big roundup of the places that we see that generally work really well for people. Of course, there's a lot that I didn't mention, and
sure,
everybody kind of finds their corner of the world. If somebody's really adventurous, a place like Sri Lanka or Borneo is really fun. Ireland is great if you want to do like a road trip type honeymoon. You can sleep in castles and things like that. So it's all about finding the right fit. But those are places that we kind of see as trending right now, between our honeymooners especially.
Next question. Once you're on your honeymoon, what are some of your tips for success?
I would say the main one is really think about balance. So it's, even if you're after something incredibly relaxing and you really just want to lay on the beach the whole time, that's fine, but think about spicing it up a bit. So even if you both love the beach, add some activities. I always kind of describe it as think about what you'd like to be talking about while you're laying on the beach. So give yourselves those experiences. And when I say experiences, I really don't mean tours. You know, that's kind of an antiquated, like you don't have to go on city tours and history tours into museums. There's so many more exciting ways to experience places. You can do an ATV ride. You can go for a coastal catamaran sunset ride, something like that. So give yourselves those moments. Like, also think of it in terms of when you come home, what will you be talking? What will the stories that you're sharing about your honeymoon be? And kind of, start to think of it in those terms. The flip side of that is also very true if you are incredibly active and you're always go, 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 and your past trips have been like that. Also think about balance in terms of offsetting that action and giving yourselves a break. So maybe that it is laying on the beach, maybe it's going for a spa appointment, something like that. So really balancing things out. Thinking seriously about budget is another one. I wouldn't say there's anything like too low as a budget, but certain destinations lend themselves better. So really think about like what is realistically an amount of money that you can spend on your honeymoon. And then what's a good destination fit for that? So for example, if you're looking at a honeymoon budget of around $5,000, Japan would be a tough one because it's an expensive place and just everything is expensive. Food is expensive. Accommodations are more expensive than in other places and things like that. So that would be a tough one, but a place like Mexico would work really well. A place like Bali would work really well, even Croatia. So make sure that you're matching your budget up and your expectations up with the reality that is on the ground. Let's see, other tips. Don't overbook things. Give yourselves time to sleep in. And while you're on your honeymoon, turn off your phones as much as possible. You delete your email apps. It's a great idea to delete Instagram too, even though we absolutely love following our couples on Instagram when they travel and kind of staying in touch with that. Nothing makes me happier than seeing that somebody's not posting on their honeymoon and they'll post when they come home, because to me that's like, okay, they really enjoyed themselves.
Yeah, they unplug.
Yes, exactly.
Very good. And of course, work with somebody professional if you can.
Yes, yeah, right. Sorry, I'm bad at plugging us.
Well, since we're there, why don't you tell us where we can find you?
Sure. So the best place to learn more about us is our website, alletravel.co. So ALLE travel.co. You can also find us on Instagram. It's Allé Travels. And, you can read more about how we do what we do. We have kind of a detailed description of that on our website. But we also love talking to people and don't feel like you have to work with us to reach out to us. We often have conversations with couples and then they decide if it's a good fit or not. And we're very comfortable, if it's not a good fit, referring you to somebody who it will be a good fit for. So please definitely use this as a resource. We also have our blog has a lot of information and we try to be as detailed as possible in our posts. So, if we're telling you about a cooking class in Italy, we tell you literally the one that you can book through. So,
nice.
If you are planning your own honeymoon, please feel free to use us as a resource for that. So, those are the main places to find us, and we try to be as chatty as possible, even when things get really busy for us.
That sounds really great. I just love how you guys are helping to make this a little bit less stressful because, like you said, everything with planning a wedding is stressful. It costs money. You have to budget. You're bringing two people together trying to figure out what they want to do. It's a lot to think about, and it's really nice to have somebody help you through all that.
Yeah, definitely. We know the stress of weddings very well. We're also very used to that people get really quiet the month before their wedding. So we kind of call that the wedding silence, and we're like, they're good. We have everything that we need. Everything is planned. They're just busy doing their thing, and that's okay. So yeah. And something that I would say just to keep in mind in general. Honeymoons are a lot more budget flexible than a lot of other things with weddings. So I know that it can, like a lot of times when couples come to us, they start to feel down because everything's more expensive than they budgeted, and then expenses keep piling up. And I know I too, the week of the wedding, just felt like people kept coming to me with like, write a check for $1,000, write a check for $2,000, and then you just feel like you're like, whatever. I don't like who else is in line. It doesn't have to be like that, and it's really just about the two of you. So you don't need to talk to like your mother-in-law about your future mother-in-law about anything relating to you. It's really just about you and your partner, and so you can take the stress out of it in that sense, and knowing that any budget is manageable, and you really don't have to discuss this or gain approval from anyone but your partner. So that can kind of alleviate some stress, I think.
That's great advice. Thank you so much, Irina, for joining us today.
Definitely. Thank you for having me.
You know, it sounds like Irina has a pretty fun job, actually.
Yeah, I know. I was always wanting to be a travel agent or something like that when I was a kid because I always wanted to travel. I just haven't done it or did it or whatever.
Thank you, Irina, for all these good tips and tricks, and totally enjoyed finding out about how to do this thing. You know, when you plan a honeymoon, sometimes you don't think to enlist somebody who actually knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's so easy just to find a flight somewhere, but it's more than just finding a flight somewhere.
Hey, gang, we have our timelines and checklists. We have updated them. They have more information now. There's over 25 pages of info, checklists, timelines, and wedding planning tools for you to check out for $3.99. So go to fromringtoveil.com/checklist and start planning.
If you are looking for bridal swag for your bridesmaids, go to our shop at fromringtoveil.com/TEE. That's TEE. 3 letters. And check out what we have listed there. If you can't find what you need, let us know. We'll see what we can do about getting something else up there for you.
Subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, iHeartRadio. We're on Alexa. Just say, hey, Alexa, find From Ring to Veil. And CastBox, and, of course, Google Podcasts.
And until next time, no stress, no worries. Keep calm and listen on. Music provided by bensound.com.